theyeshiva.net.
Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, the last line. V'Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, Noshim chayav barba kaisus halalu. The women are obligated to drink the 4 cups of wine of the night of the Seder. You're going to ask a question. L'chayre. It's a mitzvah essay shazman gram. It's a mitzvah. Well, it's not, I shouldn't say mitzvah essay because it's a rabbinic mitzvah. But it's a rabbinic mitzvah shazman gram, which is dependent on time, obviously. It's for the night of Pesach.
We only got a deen because of them, though.
So we know generally that when the Chachamim made a takana, they tried to make it similar to a biblical mitzvah. It says, Kol ma the tikkun rabbanan kein d'oraisa tikkun. When they were masakin, they tried to do it as much as possible similar to the Torah. By Torah, we know every biblical mitzvah that has man grama. For example, sitting in a sukkah, or shaking a lulav, or sfiras ha'omer, or blowing shofar. Women are potter, so l'chayre. You might think Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says they would be potter from arba kaises. Furthermore, and I'm going to add in parentheses, we know women are obligated to eat matzah, for example, even though it's a mitzvah says shazman grama, but we have a special limud for that, because the Torah in the same pasuk compares eating matzah not to eat chametz. It's a juxtaposition, right? Eat matzah and don't eat chametz. And since when it comes to mitzvahs loisas, they're always obligated, they're not allowed to eat chametz. So therefore we have a special limud that they're mechuyev in matzah, but that's a special limud. If not for that, we would say they're potter from matzah, just like they're potter from lulav, they're potter from eating in a sukkah, they're potter from tkiyah shofar, they're potter from tefillin, they're potter from tzitzis, they're potter from krishma, they're potter from shachvis mincha ma'ariv. Why? Because it's a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. So you would think dalit kaisis, even though it's a mitzvah of the rabbanon, and when the rabbis are not defined by the biblical commandments, but nonetheless, that you usually did it in the same style like Torah. So you might think women should be potter from arba kaisis. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is mechadish that they're chayiv in arba kaisis. Why? Sha'af hein hayu b'yseyanes. Because the women were also in that miracle. As Rashi puts it, right on top, the first Rashi says, Kedam rinon. The Gemara says in Soita, Yud Aleph B'schar Noshim Tzidkanu Yishaboisi Hadar Nigalu. It's not just they were part of the miracle. The miracle happened because of them. And the reward, it's the reward for the righteous women in that generation for which the Jewish people were redeemed. Because of their merit, because of their work, because of their faith, we were redeemed. So you're going to drink 4 cups and say only men are going to celebrate Yitzias Mitzrayim when it happened because of the women also are chayiv. V'chein gabe mikra megillah nami amrinan hachi de mishum daidei Esther nigalu. Rashi adds, interestingly, the same as Purim. It's also mitzvah saseh shazman grama. Why are they mechuyev in Megillah? The answer is Esther is the one who did it all. If Esther is the one who did it all, you're going to say, the men should celebrate Purim, not the women. It happened because of a woman. V'chein gabe Chanukah b'Maseches Shabbos, that Yehudis, it was a woman Yehudis who initiated much of the success of the Chashmonaim against the Syrian Greeks. So that's why they're chayiv also in Neris Chanukah. Afein hayu b'Isei hanes, the nes happens because of them in all these 3 situations, Purim, Chanukah, and Pesach, and hence they are obligated in the mitzvahs, the rabbinic mitzvahs, which are relevant to these holidays, even though it's Hazman Groma. Yehudis, so it was a woman. They are mechuyev. If the
give us to do it, not the men do it for them.
The men do it at the house for everybody, but if a man is not there, the woman has to light Hanukkah candles.
You could say the same about the other things.
No, she doesn't.
Say the man drinks.
No, she doesn't have to hear shofar. She doesn't have to hear shofar. She doesn't have to sit in the sukkah. What do you mean?
But she has to
light Hanukkah candles. Yeah.
Yet we still. I mean, Chabad does. The men.
Forget Chabad. What's Chabad? We're talking about halacha now. The women don't do it, not in Chabad, not anywhere else in the world. Only if there's a man, but if there's no man, they have to do it. Shabbos candles, why don't you light Shabbos candles every Friday? But if there's no woman, the man lights, right? Yeah. Taisvis, take a look in Taisvis. Sha'afein hoyu boisi anes, ve'ilav hai taime loy hoyu chayavis, mishum de noshim turis v'mitzvus hasa shazman grama. If not for this reason, the women would not be obligated. Afal gav darba kaises de rabbanon, and l'chayda by the rabbanon we don't have this difference of hazman grama. Not he says kein deiraisa tikun. They usually institute it similar to mitzvahs min haTorah, and therefore, if not for this reason, women would have been exempt. Hayu ba'isei hanes, Pirush Rashbam. Rashbam says, like Rashi, Sha'al yadam nigalu, v'chein b'megillah de Esther, b'chanakai de Yehudas, v'kasha, the af mashma she'ein an ikir. The expression of Rabbi Shua ben Levi is af hein hayu ba'isei hanes. They were also part of the miracle, not they were the cause of the miracle. Af means that they weren't the essence of it; they were a part of it. Va'oid, to Yerushalmi Garis in Talmud Yerushalmi. In Masechta Megillah it says, Sha'afein hayu ba'osei safek. About Purim, the reason they're obligated in the mitzvahs of Purim is because they were in that doubt. Mashma, ba'osei sakana, the lahashmid l'haragol abed. Ba'osei safek means not that the miracle happened through Esther. They were part of the doubt. They were part of the uncertainty. They were part of the crisis. They were part of the decree where Klal Yisrael would have Chalila been exterminated. So what do we see from this Yerushalmi? That they're celebrating Purim not because the miracle happened through Esther, but because they were part of the Gzeira, and therefore they were part of the Nes, which would explain the Af Hein Hoyu. And that's why Tosfos learns the Pshat in the Gemara, not necessarily that they were the cause of it, but that just they were part of it. They were part of Yetzias Mitzrayim, they were part of Chanukah, they were part of Purim. V'hada Amrina the Pturis Mesukah, Afal Gav the Af Hein Hoyu ba'isei hanes ki besukah shafti. Ay, gewaldig. Sukkot, they were also part of the miracle. Sukkot represents the fact that Hashem placed the Jews in huts when they came out of Mitzrayim, surrounded by the clouds of glory, or living in different huts, and they were part of that. They were also surrounded by the clouds of glory. They were also living in Sukkot. It says, Hasem be'esei doiraisa. By a mitzvah's esei doiraisa, we don't have this distinction because women were part of it. Therefore, they're obligated, because we have a klal in Torah that if it's a mitzvah's essay shazman grama, women are potter. We're not going to come and say, no, it's only this mitzvah, it's not that mitzvah. We have a limud. All mitzvah's essay shazman grama, women are potter. So when it comes to the Iraisa, we don't have that right to make a distinction. So therefore, we say they're potter from sukkah because the mitzvah's essay shazman grama. They should be chayiv in sukkah, but the Torah patters women from all mitzvahs essay shazman grama. Aval barba kaises the rabbanon tiknu gam lenoshim kivin shoya b'yisanas. When it comes to rabbinic mitzvahs, they were the ones who have the right to formulate the mitzvah and its conditions. So in a case where women are part of it, because they were part of the experience, the Rabbanan made this mitzvah on them also. But a mitzvah says it, you're not going to say that if it's asman grama, they're potter, and that's when they're potter from sukkah. Like Rashi, it's not a question why they're potter from sukkah, because the reason we're obligating them in these mitzvahs is because they initiated the miracle. By Sukkah, they didn't initiate it, right? Sukkah say Shafti, all the Jews. But like Tosfos, it's a question because Afein Hoyu B'Yisanas means they were participants in the miracle. They enjoyed the miracle as much as men. So Sukkahs too. So that's what he distinguishes. That's why he distinguishes between the Rais and the Rabban. But they wanted the women to drink the 4 cups. That's something else. The Rabbanan have a koyach to say not to do a mitzvah sesim in Torah. B'shev al tasa, like not blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah of Shabbos. That's the idea. Yeah, but here it's like a new mitzvah. So there it's kum v'aseh.
So in other words, they are increasing the mitzvah.
They create a mitzvah de rabbanon, a new rabbinic, which they say is a rabbinic mitzvah, because you're not allowed to add to mitzvahs. Yeah.
For example, protect the kokos.
Right. Yeah. Right. That. Yeah.
So comes up maybe all the mitzvahs that are on notion.
If it's relevant to them, not all. For example, shachris mincha ma'ariv, right? Tefillah 3 times a day. Women are not mechuyev. Even though it's the minig of many women to daven different tefillahs, but there's no obligation for a woman to daven mincha, right? Even though it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, because it's not relevant to them necessarily. But here, it's mamish relevant to them. They were part of Yetzias Mitzrayim, so the Rabbanan said it's also for women. Sfiras ha'omer bezman hazeh, according to many shittas, is d'Rabbanan. It's not for women, because it's not that. They're not part of Sfiras ha'omer. Also. That's why he says, if not, exactly, but where they were part of the Nes, yeah. So really it applies to the Rabbanan as well, because they followed the biblical model, like Tosfos said earlier. They followed the biblical model wherever it's appropriate, that if it's Hazman Grama, women should be potter. That's why we thought Dalet Kaisers, they would be potter. But where there was a reason to be Mechayev women, even though by the Araisi you're not Mechayev women, like Sukkah, by the Rabbanan you'll be Mechayev women, because when they're creating the mitzvah, they did it for the women as well.
So the Rabbanan putting a duty on women.
Yeah.
As they were,
Yeah. Kain, similar. Following the model, yeah. Ka'ain, similar. Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel that Arba Kaisis Halalu. These Arba Kaisis, these 4 cups of wine, Sarich Sheyeh Behen Kedei Mezigas Kais Yafa, must contain the amount of pure wine needed to mix a nice cup. The cup that was used for Birchas Hamazon is called a nice cup, a Kais Yafa. The reason is the sages require that when we use a cup of wine for benching, the cup should be embellished in different ways. So they called it a Kais Yafa, a nice cup. So Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel that these 4 cups of wine have to contain the amount of pure wine needed to mix in a nice cup. Generally, in the time of the Gemara, the wine was so strong that they would always dilute it with water. Right? And the general measurement always depended on the quality of the wine, but generally it was 3-to-1. 1 portion pure wine and 3 portions water. So if you're using, let's say, 4 ounces of, if you have a cup of 4 ounces, you would have 1 ounce of pure wine and 3 ounces of water, and that would allow the wine to taste good, because if not, the wine is too raw, too intense, too sharp. So it was generally a ratio of 3-to-1. Of course, you can have stronger wine, and you'd have 4 measures of water, 5 measures of water, up to 6 measures of water. After that, it's usually diluting the wine, not good. But usually, today our wines are strong and are not so strong, so we don't dilute it.
No, the second wine is mostly water. When they use the grape to make wine out of it.
Oh, the second wine is mostly water. Yeah. So Shmuel said that the 4 cups have to have amount of pure wine needed to mix a nice cup. How much do you need in a nice cup, in a cup of benching pure wine, right? You don't need a full revius because you could use 3 measures of water. Usually it's 1 measure of wine. That's how much you need in the 4 cups of wine. The way the Gemara understood this now, we're going to change that, is that for all the 4 cups of wine, you basically need the amount of pure wine you had in a cup of benching, which means you would have 1/16 of a revius. 1/16, because they understood that he meant all the 4 cups together needed a very little amount of pure wine. So basically the 4 cups together would make up a revius. Which would mean you would have like less than an ounce for each of the 4 kaises. Ad kedei kach. Altogether, if we're going to go with Reb Chaim 3 ounces, yeah? So it would be even less than an ounce for each cup. That's what the Gemara understood. Altogether, yeah, you should have the amount of pure wine that you have in 1 cup of benching. And how much do you have? You have 1/4 of a revius. 1/4 of a revius. Together you have a revius in a cup of benching. 1 measure of wine and 3 measures of water. Then he continues. Son chai, if you drank the wine pure, you did not dilute it with water. In other words, you used full cups of pure wine for the 4 cups. What's the halacha? Yatsa. It's fine. Son bebasachas, if you drank all the 4 cups together, in other words, you drank the remaining 3 cups immediately after you drank your first cup of wine, you didn't disperse it over the Seder like we do it, Yatsa, you fulfilled your obligation. Hishkamen lebanav lebnei beisa. If you gave to drink from each one of the cups to sons, to your children and members of your household, Yatsa, you fulfilled the obligation. In other words, you didn't drink the entire cup by yourself. You took the cup and you shared it with the members of your family. You fulfilled the obligation. These are the 4 halachas Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. Number 1, about how much pure wine you need. Number 2, drinking raw wine. Number 3, drinking in drinking the 4 cups together. Number 4, sharing the drink with others. So the Gemara explains. Son chayatza, you drank them pure, you fulfilled. Amar Rava said, Yidei yayin yatza, Yidei cheres lo yatza. You fulfilled the obligation of drinking 4 cups of wine, but you didn't fulfill the obligation of doing it in a manner of freedom. Meaning, because it's so strong and not enjoyable, so it's not a good feeling. So therefore, you didn't fulfill the mitzvah in its complete fashion. You did the 4 cups of wine, we can't say you didn't. But right. But to say that you fulfilled the mitzvah as it should be fulfilled in a way of cherus, in a way of freedom, it's not because it's too strong. Again, today we don't have this issue because our wines are not so strong, so therefore we did fulfill the mitzvah of cherus even when we don't dilute the wine. They wanted you should drink it in a way that noble men drink it, that noble women drink it, that kings and royal people drink it. And as we said, the wine was too strong, so you did not drink them if you did not mix them with water. So even though you drank 4 cups of wine and you fulfilled the obligation, you did not fulfill it in the proper manner, the way free, royal, and noble people drink it in a time when they're feeling gaily and joyous and happy and in a state of pleasure and freedom. Son bevas achas, if you drank them together, you fulfilled the obligation. Rav said, you fulfilled the obligation of drinking wine, no question, but you didn't fulfill the obligation of drinking the 4 cups of wine. In other words, the wine for Simchas Yom Tov, you were yoytze the mitzvah of drinking wine for Simchas Yom Tov, we'll soon see, you have to drink wine for Yom Tov. But the 4 cups you didn't because it was one after another. I should just say, there are Rishonim who say that you were yoytze even 4 kaises, but not the 4 kaises the way the Chazal set it up to be in the 4 parts of the Seder, 1 for Kiddush, 1 after reading the Haggadah, 1 after benching, and 1 at the end of Hallel. That's another interpretation. There is an interpretation that you poured them all into 1 cup. There is such an interpretation. That's how Rashi teaches. Bebas achas, you pour them all into 1 cup. But most of the Rishonim explain bebas achas means one after the other. You finish Kiddush, you drink a cup of wine, you drink another 3 cups. So you fulfill the mitzvah of wine, you didn't fulfill the mitzvah of arba kaisis, certainly not arba kaisis in the order. That's what the Gemara is going to discuss soon. The Gemara is going to discuss soon. If you gave it to your family, you were yaitza. Amar Reb Nachman by Yitzchak, Nachman by Yitzchak said, "V'hu de ishte ruba de kasa," provided that you drank most of the cup. What do we mean? You could share the cup with others, but you have to drink most of the cup yourself, and then you could share other parts of the cup with others. Now here it's interesting to note that a huge machloikas broke out among the Rishonim what the Gemara means. Ruba de kasa. Is it accurate, or is it just an example based on the contemporary cup? What do I mean? If you'll take a look in Tosfos, Ruba de kasa, it's the third to the last Tosfos. Tosfos says, Hainu kimaloi lugmav. Ruba de kasa means a cheek full of wine. Kidepirashti la'el, umiyu lechatchila tzarech lishtas revius. The regular cup was a revius. Okay. If we go with the share of Reb Chaim now, let's say 3 ounces. The regular cup was 3 ounces. So you have to drink roiv of the kais. What's roiv of the kais? Roiv of a revius, which is basically maloi lugmav. You fill up 1 sheik with wine is usually most of a revius. Would be almost 3 ounces if we use that shear. So Taisa says, l'chatchila, you should drink a full revius. But if you drank the majority, which means maloi lugmav, it's fine. What would the Gemara then mean? That each cup of the 4 cups of wine, I could drink the majority of a revius, right? And then give the rest of the drink to my wife or my children. That's one way of learning the Gemara. Ruba de kasa doesn't mean literally I have to drink the majority of the cup. If it's a revius, I have to drink the majority. What if it's a cup like this? If it's a 7-ounce cup or an 8-9-ounce cup, I only have to drink a very little part of the cup. I only have to drink maloi lugmav, like we say by Kiddush. That you have to drink maloi lugmav shikful.
Because it's a kosher bracha, you don't
Right.
take the pagama.
Right. So after you make the bracha, hagafen, you drink. Right. That means that the 4 cups are no different than Kiddush. That's what Tosfos holds. It's exactly like Kiddush. However, the Ramban takes the expression most of the cup literally. You have to drink most of the cup of the 4 cups of wine, no matter how large your cheek full or how large the cup. If you have a 12-ounce cup, you have to drink more than 6 ounces in order to fulfill the obligation of 4 cups. So that means that Kiddush and Arba Kaisis are completely 2 different situations. Kiddush, you only have to drink the roiv of a revius, which is maloi lugmav. But Dalet Kaisis, you have to drink roiv of the cup. That's a whole different situation. So if I have a cup that's 2 revius in, I can't drink the roiv of a revius. I have to drink more than 1 revius because I have to drink the roiv. That's the shit of the Ramban. What would be the logic to distinguish between the 2? We can understand the logic. The Bach explains, the Brisker Rav explains, that by Kiddush, what's the mitzvah? The mitzvah is to make a bracha on wine. Because you're making a bracha on the wine, the Chachamim also wanted you to drink it. The mitzvah is not to drink the wine. The mitzvah is to make Kiddush on wine. So therefore, maloi lugamav is fine. You just have to taste the wine. A cheekful is enough. By Pesach, it's not, there's a mitzvah to make kiddush on wine. There's a mitzvah to drink 4 cups of wine. Because rubai kikulai, so lechatchila, you should drink the whole cup. And that's taka the halacha. According to the Rabbi, you should drink the whole cup. Since rubai kikulai, so we let you also drink the majority, because we look at the majority like the full cup. But the mitzvah on Pesach is to drink 4 cups of wine, not to make a bracha on 4 cups of wine. So therefore, the Ramban teaches the Gemara that you have to drink the full cup. If you drank the majority of the cup, you're good. Kuf Ches Amud Beis, 9 lines from the top. Metzorah. Metzorah. Let's remember what happened. Rabbi Yehuda taught in the name of Shmuel that the 4 cups of wine don't need a full revius of wine, but they can have the amount of wine that 1 cup that we use for benching has. When we use a cup for benching, you can have 1 part wine and 3 parts water, because they used to dilute the wine with water. And he said that's how much wine the 4 cups have to have, which the Gemara understood at this point means that the 4 cups together have to have 1 measure of wine and 3 measures of water. That means the 4 cups together have to make up a revius. That's how the Gemara understood it now. He also taught that you're yoitze if you drink it undiluted. He also taught that you're yoitze if you drink them simultaneously, one after another. And he also taught that you're yoitze if you don't drink the whole cup yourself, but you share it with your family. And the Gemara explains that Rava said, yeah, if you drink the wine undiluted, you're yoitze the mitzvah of drinking wine on Yom Tov, but not the mitzvah of cherus, which means you didn't do it in a complete fashion. You did the mitzvah of drinking wine, you did the mitzvah of drinking 4 cups, but it's missing the feeling of liberty because it's so strong and intense, and it was not the common manner for noblemen to drink wine with such intensity. If you drink it simultaneously, yeah, you're yotzei the mitzvah of Simchas Yom Tov and wine, but not the mitzvah of Dalet Kaisis, even if you want to say you're yotzei mitzvah of Dalet Kaisis, but not in the order. And then finally, if you give it to your family to drink, Reb Nachman said, that's fine, but you still have to drink the majority of the cup. The majority of the cup of wine you still have to drink, even if you share it with your family. Okay, that's basically how the Gemara explained the words of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel. Yeah, I think the alcoholic content was very, very strong, and they used to have to pour 3 measures of water for 1 measure of wine. If it was a 4-ounce cup, it was 1 ounce of wine and mamash 3 ounces of water. That was mamash how they used to do it. It was pashat. You can drink it, but it was just very, very strong. It's like Saneinzike. Huh?
You find it in discussion here, fall asleep
Some people maybe know how to drink, so they can do it.
But it's not
Remember, it's only... Right, he's not getting into it. His point is, if you happen to drink 4 cups of wine and they're raw, you're yotzei the mitzvah, but you didn't do it in the complete fashion because it wasn't called derech cherus. It's not derech cherus. It's not the way to enjoy wine. It's maybe the way to get intoxicated very fast, but it's not the way to enjoy wine. And the point of Pesach is liberty, freedom, enjoyment, simcha, hana. So Reb Nachman said, but you could share it with your family, but you have to drink the majority of the cup. And here is where the Rishonim diverged in 2 completely different interpretations of the Gemara. Tosfos said, what does it mean the majority of the cup? It just means the majority of a revius. The normal cup was a revius, and you have to drink the majority, just like we say by Kiddush. Just like by Kiddush, you got to drink what we call maloi lugamav, a cheek full of wine. Pesach is exactly the same thing, and it's called Roiv Kais only because it's Roiv of a Revius, and by the regular person, a cheek full is the majority of a Revius. So if a Revius would be 3 ounces, just to use the Shiv Reb Chaim you would have to drink, according to Tosfos, a little more than 1.5 ounces, and you're yotzei the 4 cups of wine. Right? You might have drink the Roiv of a Revius, let's say 1.6, or a little more than 1.5 ounces, you're yotzei according to the Shir Reb Chaim The Chazon Ish's shir is 5.3 ounces is a revius. So according to Tosfos, you would have to drink b'roiv of a revius, a cheekful, and you are good. It's mamish like Kiddush. However, many other Rishonim, first and foremost the Ramban, say that's a distortion of the Gemara. The Gemara said, Ishti Rube de Kasa. You got to drink most of the cup. If your cup is 20 ounces, you got to drink more than 10 ounces. And if your cup is 8 ounces, you have to drink more than 4 ounces. It has to be ruba de kosa, most of the cup. According to this, arba koises is completely different than kiddush. Kiddush needs malay lugmav. Even if it's a big cup, you only have to do 1 cheekful, which would basically be a little more than 1.5 ounces according to Rabbi Chaim na. Or even according to the Chazon Ish, 5.3 ounces. How much would malay lugmav would mean most of a revius? A little more than 2.5, right? A little less than 3 ounces. Less than 3 ounces. You don't have to do more, which is not a lot. But the Ramban says by the 4 cups of Pesach, you got to drink roiv kos. And the difference is an important difference. By Kiddush, the mitzvah is not to drink. By Kiddush, the mitzvah is to make a bracha to Hashem on the wine. Because you're making a bracha, we say you should drink. By Pesach, the mitzvah is not to make a bracha on the wine. The mitzvah is to drink 4 cups of wine. By Kiddush, the mitzvah is not to drink the wine. The mitzvah is to make Kiddush on wine. To make the bracha of Kiddush on wine. It's a very different type of halacha. So even Kiddush Pesach, since it's one of the 4 cups of wine, would have the bigger shear than the regular Kiddush, where I would have to drink the majority of the cup. That's the shita of the Ramban. According to the Ramban, 2 people could never use the same cup of wine. Right? If I give it to my family, I'm yoitza because I drank the majority, but they're not yoitza because they didn't drink the majority. You can't have 2 people drinking the majority of a cup. It can't work. You can have 50-50, but you can't have 60-60. It's not going to work. 60-40. So according to the Ramban, only I will be able to be yoitza with that cup of wine. According to Tosfos, that's not true. You can have a cup, I could do a cheekful, you can do a cheekful, you can do a cheekful, and you can do a cheekful. So that would be a tremendous difference in how do we understand? How do we understand? I'm sorry, what? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get to Allah in a moment. And according to Tosfos, you would have to say, as some Rishonim say, that perhaps the Chachamim didn't need everyone to have their own cup. Perhaps they can use the cup of their father as long as they're drinking a cheekful of wine. There are even Rishonim who taina that only the balabas has to have a cup of wine. He's the one who has to, and everyone else could listen to him, just like we do by Kiddush. Not everybody has to make Kiddush. There is that shitta. Tosfos brings it, the Raj brings it, that only one man has to drink the 4 cups of wine and everybody could just listen to his drinking. That's a gewaldike chiddush. But this is one mahalach and then there's the Ramban's mahalach. Lahalacha l'maisa, what we say is that Arba koises is the Rabbanon.
That's for... Where was the paper?
The Arba koises, the Chachamim were masakin Arba koises. Because of his man Cheresenu, there's different psukim that they learned it out from. Yeah. So the way the Shulchan Aruch Harav quotes it in Siman Taf Ayin Beis Hilchos Pesach is Yesh Oimrim that lechatchila the mitzvah is to drink the whole cup on Pesach, even if it has many reviyos. It's a large cup. I Kiddush of other Yom Tovim and Shabbos lechatchila it's enough a cheekful, which is roiva reviyos. But Dalet Kaisos of Pesach lechachamim were machmir that lechatchila you should drink the entire cup. B'di'evid if you drink the majority of the cup you're yaitza. We see the Gemara says the ishtiru b'dekuset because that's a b'di'evid. In other words, according to this mahalach lechatchila it's not the majority. You got to drink the whole cup. If you only did the majority, since in halacha we say rubai kekulai, the majority is equal to the full. So we say you're yaitza with the majority, but the best thing is to do it kulai. But if you drank only half a cup, even if it's 10 ounces, you're not yaitza according to this opinion. And then there's the second opinion. The second opinion is that even lechatchila, a roiv reviyus would be fine. That would mean around 1.6 or a little less than 3 ounces, even if the kais is big. And that is the second shitta, like the shitta of Tosfos, v'chein ikir, this is the primary shitta in the poskim, and the minig by many people. But nonetheless, it's very good to be stringent according to the first svara, and therefore you should take a smaller cup and drink the whole thing. And if the wine is very expensive, it's enough if you drink the majority. This is only the first 3 cups. The last cup, of course, you have to drink a full revius, so you should make a bracha achrona. And the chatchila, you should drink the reiv of the revius in one shot, in one drink, not two different gulps, which is why you shouldn't take a narrow cup where you can't drink it in one gulp, even though b'di'evet, if you took a break a few times, you yaitse, but make sure that from the beginning of drinking till the end of the drinking, you shouldn't...
What's the reason for that? The last one?
But basachas, it shouldn't be shteish siyas, the Rama says.
Because of the... I know, because...
No, even if you take a few breaks, you want to make sure that the time from the beginning of the drinking to the end of the drinking shouldn't be more than achilas pras. And of course, some say it shouldn't even be more than the time it takes to drink a revius, which is much shorter.
What's the reason for that?
Mitzad bracha achrayna.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Meisve. They asked a question on Shmuel. Arba kaises alalu. The Braisa says Arba kaises alalu tzarich sheben shir revius. K'dei revius. These 4 kaises need to have a shir revius. What do we mean they need a shir revius? That the 4 cups of wine need to have a revius of wine, which means a revius of raw wine. Echad chai v'echad mazug, whether it's raw or it is diluted. In other words, what he means is that you don't need to drink the wine when it's raw. You don't need every cup to have a revius of raw wine. It's fine if every cup has a fourth of a revius of wine and 3 parts water, right? So if you're going to use a cup of 4 ounces, right, you can have 1 ounce of wine and 3 ounces of water. It has to have a revius of wine, but the wine doesn't have to be a revius of raw wine. It could be also a revius of diluted wine. That's also a revius. As long as you have a revius of wine, even if it's mixed with water, that's good, whatever the revius is. Echad chadash, echad yashan. You could use new wine, you can use old wine, no difference. And as the Rashbam says, what he means is even if it's new wine and it didn't ferment for long, so it doesn't have a strong taste of wine, or even if it's very old wine, and in this case it became weaker, it's still good. All wines are good. Rabbi Yehuda says, Tzarich sheyeh by tam amariyai. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you need to have the taste of wine, the look of wine, the gaze of wine, the mara, the appearance of wine. In other words, as the Rashbam says, Rabbi Yehuda means you have to have mara yayin, that it should be red wine, it should have the look of wine, and the tam of wine means it should have a strong taste. Ktani miyas, but what do we see from this Braisa? It says kedei reviyas, that the 4 cups need kedei reviyas va'at amrit kois yafe. But you said before in Shmuel that all the 4 cups need the amount of wine of 1 cup of benching, all the 4, which is much less. So the Gemara says, Amri idi vidi chat shiurehu. Both is 1 shear. My kedei mezigas yafe dekama lechol chad v'chad ava l'kul reviyas. He didn't mean all 4 cups together should have 1 revius of diluted wine. What he meant was each one should have a revius. So between all 4, you're going to have a full revius of undiluted wine. Because if you have in each one a fourth of a revius of undiluted wine, so with all 4, you're going to have a revius of undiluted wine. Rabbi Yehuda says, Sarich sheyeh tam amara, you need the flavor and you need the appearance. Amar Rav my timer. Rabbi Yehuda, the pasuk says in Mishlei, Al teire yayin kiyis adam. Don't put your eyes on wine, which is red, kiyis adam, when it's red, because it's very addictive. The pasuk in Mishlei is telling a person to be careful from becoming addicted to wine because it's red and it's very appealing and very attractive, and it can cause you to become intoxicated and inebriated, which is not a good way in life, a good path in life. What do we learn from here? We learn from here is that stam yayin is yis adam, if it's strong, intoxicating, and red. And from here, Rabbi Yehuda learns that this is the type of wine that we have to use for the arba kaisis. This is the type of wine that we use for the arba kaisis. Yis Adam. How do they translate Ki Yis Adam? It's red, yeah, it's red. You're saying that it's going to bring you down to Adama. Okay, yeah. Yeah. And basically, the halacha in Shulchan Aruch is, in Siman Tafayim base, fascinating that it's a mitzvah to use red wine by the Seder. Unless the white wine is better, it's a mitzvah to use red wine based on this pasuk, Al Teiri Yayin Ki Yis Adam, that the chshivas of wine is when it's red. Right? Even though by Kiddush, there's many shittas that you don't have to look for red wine unless it's better than the white wine, right? But nonetheless, by the Dalit Kaisis, many of the Paiskim say you should use the red wine, unless the white is better. But if the white is not better, if it's equal or worse, you should certainly use the red wine. Right? Another reason is that it's a zecher for the blood with which Paro yeshechted Jewish children. The interesting thing I should add is that the Taz in Shulchan Aruch writes here a clause, and the Shulchan Aruch Hanav brings it, and he says that now, because of the blood libels in Eastern Europe, we do not take red wine for Pesach. So the Taz, Rabbeinu David Segel, who wrote a commentary on Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Yosef Karo writes, go get red wine for Pesach, based on this Shita. The Taz, who's living in the 17th century in Poland, in Eastern Europe, and the Shulchan Aruch Harav, who's living in the 18th century in Belarus, in White Russia, both write, now with all of the blood libels, he says, the blood libels against us are common, and we know which blood libels, that they're slaughtering Christian children and using their blood for matzah. We do not use red wine for Pesach. This is fascinating. Because we don't want anything red on the Seder table, which can, God forbid, give room to the accusations that the Jews are slaughtering children for Pesach. We know the Beilis trial was one of the last great blood libel trial, or the last one, in 1911. Mendel Beilis, who was the head of a brick factory in Kiev, was accused of murdering a child they found a few days before Pesach, Tofresh Ayin Aleph, I think 1911, near Kiev in the Ukraine. They found a kid in a pit, a Christian kid, I think 14 or 13 years old, stabbed to death. And he was killed. And they blamed Mendel Beilis, who was a Jew, a father of 5, came from a Hasidic family. I don't know if he himself was religious. And they put him in prison. He languished there for years until the great trial, the Mendel Beilis trial, which was an international phenomenon. And during those 2 years, the propaganda against the Jewish people was terrifying, and many Jews couldn't. They were scratching their heads. How can it be that in the 20th century people should still believe this? Of course, today after the Holocaust and everything else, we're not so naive. But in 1911, Jews really thought that the Enlightenment and progress has obliterated the lies of anti-Semitism for good. But it's fascinating that the Poskim say in the later centuries not to take red wine because of this reason.
Does the Lubavitch have white wine?
No. Of course, it was only because of the blood libels. So, Baruch Hashem, today we don't have to. I never heard that.
Is there anything wrong using white wine?
It's not nothing wrong. It just says mitzvah lechazer achayayin adam. Mitzvah lechazer achayayin. It's not about the color, I think. Or you're saying if it's about the blood, then it's about the color. But if it's about the fact that it's red, l'chayda adding doesn't help. It depends how you learn the svara. If you learn mitzad al teiri yayin ki yis adam, so it has to be red be'etzem. If it's mitzad the svara of zeichel l'dam, then you could put in a few drops of red.
Tanya said not to drink it because of zeichel, the color, right? I mean,
he's saying in our days we don't take red wine. He doesn't say it as halach. He says the fact is the Jews are not doing it. He puts it in Shulchan Aruch because it was relevant. It was a warning. Right. Without red wine, yeah, you're right. If it was white wine, the dam was a different dam. You're right. They had no choice. The point is they had no choice. It was an issue of pikuach nefesh, and it was simply a simple hazard. You never knew who's breaking into the house, what they're going to see, who's the guest, who's informing. It was just, it's buying red wine, it's selling red wine. It's just the red around Pesach was a travesty, was a nightmare. It's hard even to describe how many Jews died, were killed because of this stupid, over the generations. I mean, the amounts of Jews who were tortured and persecuted and hung and burnt and killed because of mamash, something that it's not like, at the Beilis trial. Fake news, beyond fake news. The Rabbi of Moscow, Rabbi Yaakov Maza, in the trial of Beilis, he said an amazing line. Bayless was exonerated. They found Bayless innocent. He's buried here. Mendel Bayless is buried here. Yeah. He went there to Israel, and then he didn't work out. He came to New York. He died. I think he's buried in the Bronx. Mendel Bayless, yeah. He died in the 1930s. This all happened 1911, 12, 13. So Rabbi Yaakov Maz, the rabbi of Moscow, said in the trial, he said that, how many eggs do you use to make a cake? 4 eggs, 6 eggs. He says, any Jewish woman in the whole world, or any Jewish man or child in the whole world, opens an egg, and they see a little blutstrop, a little koiredam, a little drop of blood, and all the eggs, it may be their only eggs, and it all goes to the garbage. Even though this is going to be the only cake they're going to have for Shabbos and Yom Tov, the eggs go to the garbage, because if they were mixed and there's one drop of blood, and we know where that comes from. It comes because the egg, of course, the egg would have morphed into a chick. It would have hatched a chicken. So there's a little, and you're telling me that they bake their matzah with Christian blood, a bloodstrop from a chick they can't deal with. That's what he said. He said, well, this is a mockery. It's a mockery of truth, of justice. Well, Paul Bayless was exonerated. He was found innocent. Okay, Zog the Gemara weiter. Tana Rabban, the rabbis taught Hakel Chayavin Barba Kaisis Halalu. Everybody is obligated to drink the 4 cups of wine. Echad Anoshim, Echad Noshim, Ve'echad Tinoikas. Men, women, and children. Men, women, and children. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, can anybody explain to me what's the benefit of children drinking wine? Like, who would make such a takana? So this is fascinating. What did Tanakama mean? Tanakama meant that children have to do arba kais because they were also liberated from Egypt. And they were part of the Gzeira. Children were being killed. So they also were liberated. They have to drink 4 kaises. Comes Rabbi Yehuda and says, what's the benefit? So the Rashbam explains that what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that you should not obligate children to drink 4 cups of wine because they're exempt from mitzvahs. The Rashbam, the last Rashbam, halipturim min mitzvahs, which basically means that the Rashbam holds that Rabbi Yehuda was talking about children who are pater from mitzvahs, even from the mitzvah of chinuch, because they're little babies, they're little kids, which means that Tanakama holds that even babies are mechuyev in arba kaises. That's the chiddush, which Rabbi Yehuda challenged. In other words, Rashbam says, Rabbi Yehuda says, why shouldn't you give it to children? We do everything with our children. They bench, they daven, they say Kriya Shema. The answer is because they're pater for mitzvahs. But we're obligated to educate. Chinuch, so that means he's talking about the age that's before chinuch, a very young age. And that's why he says there's no point in them drinking wine. It's not a mitzvah. They're pater from all the mitzvahs, which would mean that Tanakama holds a gewaldige chiddush, that on Pesach, even children before the age of formal education would be obligated to drink the wine. Ad kedei kach, because the miracle was so connected to them as well. And as the Medrash says, Hey mikiru tchila, that by the Yam Suf, they're the ones who recognized God first because of what they experienced in Egypt. Right? Which is why the whole Seder is for them. So some of the poskim say that from this sugya is mashma that even children before chinuch should drink the 4 cups of wine. However, many other Rishonim say no. Tanakama was talking about children who have already reached the age of chinuch, which means the older, just like we educate them with other mitzvahs, he's saying we should also educate them with the 4 cups of wine. So there's a big argument how you learn the Gemara. And still Rabbi Yehuda says that even 10-year-old kids shouldn't drink the 4 cups of wine. Why? Because it's not meaningless. It's meaningless for them. So even as chinuch, you shouldn't do it. That is the shitta of the other Rishonim, and that's the halacha in Shulchan Aruch, that only children who higia lechinuch are mechuyev in arba kaises, like the second interpretation of the Gemara. But this is a fascinating interpretation that Tanakama would hold that even little babies are mechuyev to drink 4 cups of wine. Right? But according to the second interpretation, he's talking about children who higia lechinuch, and still Rabbi Yehuda says there's no inyan in being mechanech kids to drink 4 cups of wine when it's not going to do anything for them. What's an 8-year-old kid need to drink 4 cups of wine? So what should you do? Ella, he says, let me tell you what to do. Much better idea for the Seder. Mechalken lehen kloyos ve'goizen berev Pesach. Distribute to them kloyos. Kloyos is scorched wheat. Did I say that right? Parched grain. Geprashete, yeah? Geprashete veits. Parched grain, which was like a snack, a treat. Ve'goizen nuts. Berev Pesach kadesh lo yishnu. So they don't fall asleep. V'yishalu, and they'll ask the questions of manishtanas. Rabbi Yehuda says, give the children joy, but not through wine. Adults can appreciate a cup of wine. Children will not appreciate the cup of wine. Instead, give them treats. This will give them more joy. It will make them alert. It will keep them up. They won't fall asleep, and they'll ask all the questions that you need to ask.
Maybe that's why we do Afikonim.
And the Rambam says, one second, you're right, and the Rambam says that this will be one of the questions. In other words, by giving them the nuts, they're going to say, why are you giving us nuts? This itself, it's not only it's going to keep them up, so they'll ask other questions, this itself will be one of the questions. Amru Alava Rabbi Akiva, they said about Rabbi Akiva, listen to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the Gadol Ador, he has 24,000 Talmidim, but you know what he's doing? Rabbi Akiva would distribute parched grain and nuts to children of Pesach, they shouldn't fall asleep and they should ask. They should be alert, they should be ecstatic, they should be excited, they should be up. Rabbi Akiva didn't say, he could have sent a shliach, he could have called over one of the yeshiva bachim and say, here, go distribute. So for Rabbi Akiva had gepast, that he himself, the greatest man of the generation, should go to children and give the children kloyos and egoism. You'll see sometimes the greatest of the great want direct contact with the children. They don't start sending to the children. To children, loved giving to children. Yeah.
We say in the military that Erev Pesach means at the Seder.
Right. It looks like Erev Pesach at night, right, or a little before the Seder. I guess you gotta keep it going. You gotta keep it going before they get to sleep. Right before they get to sleep. Tanya, we have a Bryce. Rebbe Lezer says. Now the next line, I'm warning you, created a lot of controversy. Choitfin matzahs b'leilei Pesachim. Rebbe Lezer said, you grab matzahs on the night of Pesach, b'shviltin noikas for the children, shaloi yishnu, they should not sleep. What did Rebbe Lezer mean? You grab matzahs on the night of Pesach. And this is where the interpretations varied from one extreme to another extreme. Rashi brings two interpretations. Interpretation number one, chaytfin matzah, is you pick up the kaira before eating. You pick up the kaira, you remove the plate, you grab the matzah, so the children will say, why? Second interpretation of Rashi, chaytfin matzah, is you eat fast. Chaytfin matzah, you grab the matzah, meaning you eat it in a very fast fashion, so that they don't fall asleep. Don't waste time. Don't extend the meal for too long. That's the two interpretations of Rashi, what chaytfin is. So the first interpretation is you move away. You move away. The kair, and the second interpretation is you eat fast. The Rashbam brings another interpretation. He says when you eat a lot, you get exhausted. So that way, after the children ate a little matzah, you grab it, you take it away from them so they shouldn't eat too much, so they won't fall asleep. They won't fall asleep. That's the Rashbam's interpretation. So Rashi's interpretation was like we do before the manashtana, you move away the plate, so they're going to say, why are you moving away the plate? But this pshat is that you take it away early, prematurely. Comes the Rambam, and he quotes this Gemara, and he says, no, chaytfim matzah zemizeh. You grab it from each other. And some Rishonim use the word goizlin, maram chalva, goizlin. You steal it from each other. You create like a game. I grab from you, you grab from me. And the Chak Yaakov says this is the source for the minig of stealing the Afikonim. This is Gemara. Chaytfin matzahs. So the Rambam says you grab from each other. Some Rishonim say the adults grab from the children, right? Chaytfin matzahs b'shvil tenoikis. But this morphed into the custom that the children grab and steal, so to speak, the matzah from the adults. And once that happens, they're not going to give it back anymore. Unless you will reward them with a handsome prize. In those days, maybe it was another walnut. When I was growing up, the Rothschilds got a calculator or a Parker pen. The simple ones got potato chips. Today, basically, for the Afikoiman, the running compensation is a Lamborghini or a BMW or at least a private yacht. And if you can't afford that, a private jet Or if you're very poor, the highest, most expensive gadget that exists. A drone also works b'di'evet. If you try to give your child a calculator these days for an Afrikaner, I'm not sure he will be on speaking terms with you.
Everybody does it, but isn't it Gezel? I mean, aren't they teaching Gezel?
It's a shtickle problem. The Gemara never says to steal the Afrikaner. The Gemara says chaytfin. It morphed into it. The Chak Yaakov says this is where the minhag started. I should say there are some poskim who say that this minhag should be bottle. It doesn't make sense. You're teaching children to steal. I even once saw a sefer in Metzorah quoted in Arvei, Chaim, and he says that the Goyim are saying that the night of our freedom we teach our children to steal as a zecher to Vayinatzlu es Mitzrayim. They emptied out Egypt and they took everything. We're teaching them the same thing, and he says you should not do this minhag. I think in Brisk, Leitaka would not do the minhag. I saw Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach would announce before the Seder that this is the minhag that many people do, but we don't do it. In the Chabad Haggadah, the Lubavitcher Rebbe writes that there's such a minhag, but it's not in the houses of their Rebbes. They would not do the minhag. It happened once that one of the children stole. So there were indeed many G'dolei Yisrael who did not allow this minhag to happen, but many homes do the minhag, and the source is in this type of, cops and robbers, hide and seek, game, ecstasy, fun, and a lot of vibrancy and excitement at the Seder. The point is, you don't want them to fall asleep. You want them to be participants in the Seder, which is why I always say, and I spoke about this yesterday in the Shir, that the main focus of the Seder is to bond with the children. Not to say everything you have to say. It's a beautiful thing. The main focus is to bond emotionally and physically with each one of the children.
Did it say anywhere to set aside matzah for the Afikoman? It's the last thing you're supposed to eat at the Seder to end up with a taste.
That's going to be later. That's what we're going to do later.
That's not the function of this.
No. Grabbing. That would be putting away. Chaytva means to grab. Tanya, we learned to Braisa. What do you mean about the wine? What the wine? You're saying, why doesn't the Manashtana include that we drink 4 cups of wine tonight? Manashtana, interesting question. Why don't we ask Manashtana, Halayla Hazar, that we drink 4 cups of wine unlike any other night of the year? Especially according to the view that children should also drink. Mele Rabbi Yehuda holds they don't drink, but if you say that children also drink, so that should have been one of the questions of the Manashtana. Not only matzah, marer, mesubin, and matbilin, but also the question of dalit kaises.
Sometimes people drank 4 cups during the regular year.
Maybe the Ashik makes it cold like down.
That could be. First of all, Isaac, that itself is a good question to ask on Pesach. So now you ask a 5th question. But it could be, that could be to say that the other ones, b'chol ha'leilos einon matbilin, right? B'chol ha'leilos oichlin chametz. B'chol ha'leilos yesh mitzvah. It could be that drinking, we see from the Gemara that at every meal they basically used to drink wine, or at least very, very common. So maybe it wasn't such a recognizable thing. Like matzah is a new thing. There's no chametz in the house, right? The idea that everything is reclined is a new thing, the same as matbilin. But the wine, they would always drink wine. Yes, it wouldn't be 4 cups in this order, so maybe that's one explanation, that it wasn't such an uncommon thing. By us, it's a little less common, maybe. You're saying right after Purim? Tanya, we learned in the Braisa. Amru alava Rabbi Akiva. They said about Rabbi Akiva. Listen to this. Miyamav layamar. In his entire life, he never said higia eis lamed beis hamedrash. It's time to stand up and leave the beis medrash. He never ever said that. He never said, Chevre, it's time to go. Chutz, twice a year. Arvei Pesachim and Erev Yom Kippurim. Twice a year, Akiva would stand up and say, Chevre, it's time to close the Gemara. Be'erev Pesach, b'shvil tenoikus kadesh lo yishnu. Erev Pesach, he would stop learning and go home. For the children, they shouldn't fall asleep. As the Rashbam says, he wanted that all the students should go home and give their kids a nap during the day, so they should be able to be up at night. That's how the Rashbam learns this. So he sent everybody away from the Beis Medrash, that they should be able to put their kids to sleep by day, give them a nap, and that way they'll be able to be up at night. So Tosfos asks, he says, "V'loy nehira atu lo yuchlu lishon b'loy avihem." Why can't the mothers give them a nap? Why did the fathers have to go home to give them a nap? I know the reason, because kids don't like to go to sleep by day. You need Tati to come in. So Tosfos gives a second reason, which the Rashbam also brings, and that is that they used to stay Yom Tov at night to learn. And that's Pshat. Rabbi Akiva said, we're not staying, you got to go home early. You got to make sure you're home right before Yom Tov starts so that the kids could be initiated into the Seder. The second day was Erev Yom Kippur, as b'neihem. He wanted everybody to go home to make sure that their children have enough food before the fast of Yom Kippur. He was afraid they're going to come home too late, and they're going to have to rush the meal, and the kids will be starving, and the fast will be very difficult. So therefore, twice a year, Erev Pesach, Erev Yom Kippur, Rabbi Akiva would say, it's time to get up and go. And the Gemara concludes this sugya, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Chayev Adam l'sameach banav b'nei beis b'regel. You're obligated to rejoice, to give joy to your children and family on Yom Tov. Shenemar, the pasuk says in Re'ei, v'samachta b'chagecha, ata uvincha, uvitecha, avdecha, v'amoscha. You have to give joy to your family on Yom Tov. B'mem esamcham, how? B'yayin, through giving them wine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, wrong. Anoshim b'royelehem, v'noshim b'royelehem. You give joy to men through giving them that which is suitable for them, and you bring joy to women by giving them that which is suitable to them. Anoshim b'royelehem, what's for when? Yayin, wine. V'noshim b'mai. How do you bring more joy to the wives? Tani Reb Yosef, beBavel in Babylonia, bevigdei tziv'oinen. Buy them colored clothing. Be'eretz Yisrael, they weren't into colored clothing, bebigdei pishton meguhatzin, which are pressed linen clothing. In other words, the point is the style that they cherish, the type of clothes they appreciate, the type of gift that will bring them joy. Do it in a way that's suitable to them, that will give them simcha for Yom Tov. So before Yom Tov, you buy them these clothes so that they could rejoice on Yom Tov.
The men have to buy wine anyway.
He's talking about every Yom Tov, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot.
Price of one on Pesach.
Yeah. And this is fascinating because it's basically a mitzvah min HaTorah that I have to ask myself before Yom Tov, what am I doing to bring simcha to myself and to my spouse and to all my children? That's a question that the Torah says, "V'samachta b'chagecha ato bincha." What are you buying your spouse? To buy something, we see clearly it has to be simcha b'roy lahem. That's going to be suitable for them. Whether it's a piece of jewelry, whether it's a cloak, it's a garment, etc. Right now, v'samachta b'chagecha, before Pesach, before Shavuos, before Sukkot, yeah, it's a mitzvah sasim in HaTorah. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda ben Metzorah said, "Bisman shebeis hamikdash Chaim, when the Beis Hamikdash stood, ein simcha ela b'basar. Simcha can happen only through the meat of the karbonos. Shenemar v'zavachta shlamim v'achalta sham v'samachta lefnei Hashem Elokecha. You will slaughter shlamim and eat it there and rejoice before God." Now it's interesting, this pasuk is not talking about Yom Tov. It's talking about when the Jews passed the Jordan and they went into Eretz Yisrael, they had to build an altar by Mount Avel and shecht karbanos shlamim and eat it and rejoice. But, since the Torah says v'samachta b'chagecha, and we see here that the Torah says that when you shecht shlamim v'samachta lefnei Hashem Elokecha, so we compare the two and we say that the simcha, when we makriv the karbanos of Yom Tov, we call shalmei simcha, they would always bring karbanos of shlamim on every Yom Tov. That's how you have simcha. V'achshav she'ein beis hamikdash kayam. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash, we can't do the karbanos. Ein simcha ela b'yayin, shenemar v'yayin yisamach levav enesh. Joy happens only through wine. As the pasuk says in Tehillim, wine will bring joy to the heart of man, and as a result of that, today we say the simcha is b'yayin. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, it was ein simcha ela b'basar. But today, the mitzvah of simchas Yom Tov you fulfill for men, according to Rabbi Yehuda, for men through yayin. That's how we do it today. We drink a revius of wine, at least a revius of wine on Yom Tov. Less than a revius is not called drinking. Rabbi Yitzchak said, okay. Yeah, well, Bisman Beis Hamikdash basar, Bisman today is done. We learned in the Torah Parshas Shmini what's pshat ein simcha lebasar, right? Halos habasar. There's no simcha like elevating the flesh, bringing the olul back to the ilah. There's no simcha. The carbon, what was the carbon? It took the meat and it made it dreach nechayach. It became divine. That's the great simcha of the Beis Hamikdash, to take the basar and elevate it. And today we do it with the yayin, kiddush, l'chaim, etc.
Does it say anything about the alcohol content for the wine for Pesach?
Well, Rabbi Yehuda said it should be tam, just like he says it should be red. He says it should be a strong wine.
That implies
Everybody have a wonderful day and a lot of hatzlacha.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.